Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ignite. Today, I am excited to welcome Imogen and Isobel from Secret Garden. Welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Excited to be here. Excited to chat with you all.
Fantastic. So, I wanted to just start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about your business, just a quick intro.
So, I'm Imogen, and this is Isobel, for anyone, and we are sisters, although we might not look like it. And we together run a family-run distillery just outside of Edinburgh. It's at the foot of the Pentland Hills, and what makes us really special is the fact that we've got a 7-acre garden where we grow the majority of the botanicals that we use. And we're both from the west coast of Scotland. So yeah, it's a very Scottish family-run business.
So, take me back to your growing up in the west coast of Scotland. What were your younger years like?
So we grew up on the Isle of Arran, which is like a very quiet island with a local population of about 4,000 year round. And then Imogen kind of had a passion for sustainability. So she went and studied geography and sustainability at St. Andrews.
Yeah, I had the best 4 years and studied, as Isobel says, geography and sustainability. And then that's not necessarily where my career took me straight after I left. I was kind of just doing whatever I could and around Edinburgh and just getting jobs and experiences with anyone and anywhere. So it's been really nice because when we took over the Secret Garden, it's been lovely to like kind of get back to those roots and do a lot more that I was interested in and did at university. And then Isobel did a couple of degrees.
Yeah, so I was always very interested in kind of like a mix of subjects. So the people that we're speaking to will probably understand when you're picking your subjects throughout high school, you kind of get pressure to go one route or the other. And I was always very creative and I loved the arts side of things, but then I also really loved the science side of things. So I did biology and chemistry. And so I think very quickly I kind of wanted to marry those skills and knew I wanted to start a distillery from high school age, so from about 16, so very early on, and then that kind of shaped my decision making moving forward. So I did a degree in global management with a pathway in leadership, so very leadership based in London. So I did that for 3 years. I really enjoyed business law as part of that degree. So I went and did a second degree in law, which was great and has been very useful in our work. And then I finished that right as COVID kind of hit. And then, we started to create a business plan for the distillery, and that's led us to where we are now.
Amazing. I love that, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to wear so many hats and do so many different things. So given that you've studied so many different areas and worked in areas, that definitely must help. I'm curious about the fact that when you were 16, you knew you wanted to start a distillery.
Yeah.
Why? Where did that come from?
I mean, everyone kind of says this. I think like growing up in Scotland, you're surrounded by incredible distilleries all the time. But I just really loved the kind of combination of artistry and chemistry. And it was this, like, you can create a product, you can, package the product and, have the creativity there, but also the recipe development was so creative and you could do so much with a product just based on like what water you use, what raw ingredients you use, how you age it. And that always kind of fascinated me, but it was also very technical as well, which I loved. And, it's one of the leading industries in Scotland. So I thought that would be a good fit. But yeah, it was an idea I got in my head and I wouldn't let go of.
And so, what were the first steps that you took? How did you take it from just being an idea to being something that was actually happening?
So first and foremost, I dragged Imogen into it with me because she has a lot of skills that I as an individual would be missing. So I'm always like the big ideas, big picture, and she is the detail oriented, get things done. And when you're starting a business, you need both of those. So I needed her to jump on board with me. And then we needed to learn more about the industry that we wanted to go into. So we did some industry specific courses. So learning about how different spirits are made, learning about, what steps people take to start distilleries, and just learning about the business we wanted to go into. And then we started to look for planning on the Isle of Arran because originally we wanted to do a distillery, just the two of us, a garden shed a 20 litre still. And so we went for planning, and planning was very difficult. I think our age was against us in the planning meeting, and it just felt like he was not there to listen to two young women. And so we realized that that wasn't going to happen. So we started to look for land around Edinburgh, and we found this distillery. And originally we kind of thought, oh gosh, that's a lot bigger than we could possibly take on. So it was a big pill to swallow. But we came to the site and we just fell in love with the magic of the place, and it felt so, tied into what we could both bring to it and both of our passions. So we jumped in, probably definitely over our heads, but I guess everything you do as an entrepreneur is kind of in over your head, and you just got to learn as you go. So we jumped in, and then now we're 3 years on.
We kind of came here and we instantly knew what we could do to really facilitate the brand and actually push that, as well as, the site and things that we could do to make the brand a little bit more out there, a little bit more us, a little bit more modern, but actually improve our brand awareness and sales. So it was nice, because it was, even though we hadn't had much experience, we didn't know where we should be going and what we should be doing.
Yeah, we had a plan and we knew how to execute it. So it's not like we were coming in with nothing. We knew what we could bring to the table, and we knew exactly what we wanted to do. And from day one, that's what we did. And
yeah.
But it's just like almost insane trusting our gut, I think, motto. We just, even if it seems insane to other people, we've just always been the kind of girls that trust our gut. And I think luckily we have each other, so we can bounce off of each other as well.
I love that it's a family business and that you're doing it together. So something you said there really struck me when you talked about how, you didn't necessarily, you had some experience, but not as much experience. And actually, we see that often with founders is you're coming into something fresh, and therefore you can look at it from a perspective that people that maybe have been in the industry haven't been able to see, and you're bringing that freshness. So you talked about some of the things you wanted to do to kind of build the brand and change the way that the business was running. Can you talk to me about that process around what you brought to it, how you built the brand, what does the brand actually stand for?
We wanted to completely, change the commercial strategy. So we wanted to rebrand, and then change the sales strategy as well. This was for two reasons. One, I think the value perception of the brand wasn't good enough. The product was so incredible, but the bottle was generic, and it just did not shine out against our competitors. So immediately I wanted to change the packaging, but also the old owner had kind of focused on white label distilling, so building other people's brands rather than focusing on our core brand, which is a risky strategy because you aren't in control of those sales. So we wanted to move away from that, and we wanted to build our brand bottom up. So we wanted to do all the legwork to get brand advocates. So that was step one. The other thing we wanted to do was change the culture of the company. So we really worked on getting the culture better, getting the communication better. Just a culture where ideas can be shared. And I think thirdly, we wanted to make the brand more authentic. So we wanted to make, the sustainability values that we had even more authentic. We wanted to make our growing methods and the botanicals that we were using more authentic, and be transparent about that as well. So say, Imogen has this wonderful model, don't let the perfect cloud the good. So it's okay, we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, but if we continue to work at it and we're honest about what we're doing, then that is all we can do. And so it's those three things that we did straight away.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit more about that motto.
When you chat to anybody about the planet and what's going on, it is so bleak. And you're constantly told that the world's going to end. And I think it's really difficult to actually think about what can I do? How can I make a difference? Because you get so overwhelmed. And so that's kind of how that motto started. It's so easy to get clouded by what you want to be doing. You just have to sit and think, oh, well, what can I do today? Who can I speak to help me with this? Getting ideas, gathering ideas, working with people that are similar, because that's a great way to start.
Yeah, it's all about taking those small steps. So it can be applied in any area of the business. Obviously, you're saying from a sustainability point of view, but as a small business, resources are limited, and we can dream as big as we want to, but if you get clouded by that and go, well, I can't achieve that dream, or it's going to be too much, just take small steps every day, use what resources you can and take a step closer to it. it's not always going to be perfect, but if everything's good, eventually you can keep moving forward.
I think it's the perfect motto for entrepreneurship, actually, because entrepreneurship is
100%.
Yeah.
just about taking those small steps, and you won't get it right every time, but you can continuously improve, you can continuously optimize. So I absolutely love it. I'd love to go back a little bit to the brand. Tell me what the brand actually stands for. What is unique about it?
So, like for us, I think our biggest thing is that our sustainability values are core to everything we do. So, we have complete control over the product from the seeds that are planted in the soil all the way through to the bottles that are packaged and sent out. And that is incredibly unique in our industry. And it's just every step of that way we have control. So, we don't use any chemicals in the garden, we use completely natural methods of how we grow. We do everything we can to minimize our carbon emissions at that stage. We do a lot of carbon capture with our soil, and Imogen's constantly working on how we can improve that. So through our distillation, we don't use any artificial colors, any artificial flavors. It is 100% natural product. And then just looking at our supply chain as well, we incorporate our sustainability values through every aspect of it. So with the rebrand of the bottle, we brought all but one of our suppliers to the UK to lower our scope 3 emissions. We use currently 70% recycled glass in our bottles. So it's been really important for us to also collaborate with partners who have similar values. And so even a small example is Imogen was doing a net zero course, and there was a waste disposal company on that course that was also trying to become net zero. And so Imogen immediately swapped our waste management company from who we were using to these people, because these people have similar values to us. And it's just incorporating that decision making at every single level of the company.
So even in our company, the culture is very centered around that, and it's really lovely because we're all kind of like a little group working together, and it's really nice for that. So not just external partners, but also the people that we work with too.
Yeah, everyone's bought into the brand, which is amazing.
That's fantastic. One of the things I really love about what you just said is when I work with people, often they think brand means the logo and the colors and what the ad looks like and that kind of thing. But what you described, the brand is every single thing that you do in the business and the way that it permeates through the culture and through the product and through the experience and all of that. So that's such an important lesson, to think about the brand really holistically, not just around
Yeah,
what
I
color are we
don't.
going to be?
Yeah, I think you need to. Like for me, I think the brand is the values and the mission, and then everything else is the dressing. So everything else needs to communicate that mission. That is what the brand is. That's the selling point. It's the storytelling of what's behind the beautiful bottle and behind the logo, because the bottle needs to represent something, the logo needs to represent something, and so it's representing those values.
Great. So I want to switch a little bit. Obviously, you came into an industry that's somewhat of a traditional industry as two young women. I suspect that couldn't have been easy. So can you talk a little bit about your experiences, as young women in the industry coming in, trying to make change?
Yeah, I mean, we're always joked that we're kind of unicorns in our industry. So obviously there are women in our industry and there are young people, but we are the only, I think, young women in our job roles in most rooms. So it is a little bit tricky to navigate. I think we get asked our age more than anything else. It is very male dominated industry, but it is also incredibly collaborative, more than you would imagine. Like other distilleries that would typically be seen as competitors aren't really seen as competitors. We all have these like mutual struggles, and it's very collaborative on that side of things. But I think, being a young woman entrepreneur, there is a lot of challenges that come with kind of finding your voice, trusting your gut, making sure that you're in a room and you're confident in what you're saying, and that, I think it's easy to go into a room and have, for example, we went to a supplier meeting and I had the CEO of our suppliers company was there. They had made a mistake that had jeopardized our customers. So we went in to have a discussion with them. And it's easy to have, someone that's a lot older, has a lot more experience in the business world, an older gentleman who's almost yelling at me, and is very flustered. And it's very easy that, for then me to like become internal and apologize. And in that moment, I said to Imogen, because Imogen was there with me, and I was like, in those moments when it feels natural just to be like, oh yeah, and I'm sorry too, or it's okay, when actually I'm not sorry and it's not okay, just to take a minute and count to 3 and just, let the room settle and, know why I'm there, know what I deserve, and that I'm advocating for my company and my customers, and like having the confidence to trust yourself in those moments and know the value in your own voice.
I think as well, everyone makes mistakes, not just young women. And I think we're afraid a little bit to do that, and we feel like we need to prove ourselves more in the rooms that we go in, because as Isabel says, lots of people will comment on our age, lots of people will ask us how old we are, lots of people will give us that kind of side look. And I think mistakes are universal. And so for us, we should try not to be afraid. As Isabel says, you've got to know what you want, and you've got to kind of have that confidence, because if you don't, it becomes very difficult.
You have a right to be in the room, that's why you're there. You have a right to be at the table, that's why you're there. And you should just trust your gut and say what you need to say.
Also, it's great because we've got each other, so there's always someone else in the room that looks like us.
Yeah, exactly. We never have to go in a room alone. We've always got each other.
I would argue that your age is a superpower, because you're coming into it with a completely different perspective than almost everybody else around the table. So you touched a little bit on working together. Family business must be absolutely amazing, but it also must bring some challenges. What do you love about it, and what's proven maybe a little bit challenging about working with your sister?
I think we love it because, we love it because we love each other. So I think having someone that you 100% trust as your business partner is incredible. I think we're very lucky with that. Mm-hmm. And I think also just having that constant support as well. We both know what we're going through, and there's no need to kind of hide that from each other, which is great as well. And then I think challenges are you take work home with you. So we work together and we live together. So, if anyone's looking to going into this career path, like, you have to go into it with your eyes open. It's not easy. I always joke it was kind of a baptism of fire when we first started, and it was very difficult to not be having those kind of conversations at 9 p.m. at night. And then I don't sleep if I'm stressed. So it was becoming a lot. And I think we kind of just set boundaries, and we said, look, after 6:30, so, once we've sat down for dinner, we don't talk about work unless it's absolutely like code black. The house is burning down, we'll talk about it. But just trying to have those little things that we don't talk about work has helped.
I think it's a good point. I think it's a good point, though, that entrepreneurship is hard. You are going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to put in place things to protect yourself, and boundaries and self-care and those types of things. But what are the benefits? What do you love about it? Why should people do it?
Why should people do it? I think the idea of like, you have something that you've created, an idea that you had, and then you've made a product out of that, or you've made a business out of that, is incredible. Like, just seeing the fruition of an idea all the way from inside your head to sitting on the shelf is incredible. And to have complete kind of control over that as well is amazing. But then I think the best part is when someone else sees it and they're like, yeah, that's awesome, and that was your idea. I think it's just amazing. I think also just like, again, the breadth of what you learn. We've been doing it for about 3 years, and we've learned more in the last 3 years than we would in 20 years of a career. And so just this constant learning is also really incredible, challenging but enjoyable.
When you get to be so integral to something, and then you see people love it and you see people enjoy it, there's just there is no better feeling. And it's really nice because it's difficult in your daily life to be able to reflect on what you've done. And when you do things like this, or you just chat to people that are just curious about what you've done, you kind of go through it all, and you just have accomplished so much. It's so nice to have those moments of reflection in other people.
So for the people out there who might be thinking about following in your footsteps and becoming entrepreneurs, what might you suggest in terms of the kinds of skills that they should try to gain at this point in their lives, and how they might go about doing that?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is just learning like teamwork. So any kind of team-based skills I think would be helpful. Putting yourself in scenarios where you're having to interact with people that you wouldn't normally is amazing. Not only because it will help you build a team in your own company, but also will help you interact and collaborate with people throughout your industry and your network. So I think that's really important. I think anything where you're learning a new skill and you're out of your comfort zone will also give you the skills to kind of do it. It's hard because every entrepreneur will face a unique set of challenges that you don't need to learn specific skills. It's learning to be adaptable. It's learning to be a good communicator. It's learning to trust your team. So I think, I think I did a lot of debate as well throughout uni and at law. Obviously there's a lot of debating, so I think that was also very helpful because it helps me kind of create an opinion and then be able to defend that opinion, which I think is important.
I think as well, it's maybe less so with skill, but just trying to do things that you do enjoy, because you'll actually enjoy learning it, because that's a big part of it, and you'll learn it better and pick it up faster if it's something that you really love to do.
It's finding what you love and then finding a way to incorporate that into your business.
And those things that you love are also what's going to allow you to get through those tough times too, right? When things aren't
Exactly,
difficult, if
yeah.
you're passionate about it, you'll just keep going. Whereas if you're doing it just to do it, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
perseverance is a big skill that someone will need to just keep going. Sometimes things are hard. Got to keep your head down. You got to keep going.
Final question. Just any last words for any budding entrepreneurs that might be in the audience?
I would say don't be afraid to fail. I think that is probably the biggest thing that I've had to learn. I've always been terrified of failure. I think that was part of the reason why I was pushed into being an entrepreneur, because I was like, oh, well, I don't want to fail at job interviews, so I'll go and just do it myself. And so I have this massive fear of failure, but entrepreneurship and failure go hand in hand. Even if you do everything right, I think this is the hardest thing. Even if you do every single thing right, you make all the right decisions and you're working as hard as you can, external factors can make you fail. And it is nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with how good your idea was or how much work you put in, and you cannot let it get you down. You have to just pick yourself up, adapt, and move on. And I think that it will be the biggest thing that people need to hold on to.
I would just say never underestimate yourself and what you can do. You can always learn something. You can always ask someone. Yeah, so never underestimate yourself would probably be my biggest thing.
Great. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Your story is absolutely brilliant. Your business is absolutely brilliant, and I am super excited to see where it goes from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.